Hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Excelsior, our Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition actual play here on Althaven with the StreamPunks. Always a mouthful. It's good to see everybody. We're going to jump into our game tonight here in just a sec. Before we get into announcements, though, I just wanted to thank my players because last game session was a big honkin' battle. And it was our first time really flexing our muscle with the 2E system. And Caitlin, you rightly pointed out that we didn't even finish a full round of combat. The entire episode wasn't even a full round of combat. It was pretty amazing. Tonight, we'll see how things go. Hopefully y'all won't pick fights. But before we get into the episode, I've only got 2 quick personal announcements. Just as a quick reminder that The Rise of Hellfire, our next issue, is coming out, I believe, next week on the 28th. So if you are interested, the Stranger Things comic that I wrote with one Jody Hauser, the 3rd issue is coming out next week. So you'll be able to get it then. There's only 4 issues, so it'll be the first from last. And all the variant covers of this particular issue are amazing. So definitely check that out. The only other announcement I had is I finally got confirmation, so I can officially announce that I'm going to be at Darkness Emergent, which is the Vampire the Masquerade convention that is happening here in Los Angeles this year. The cast of LA by Night is going to be out visiting and LARPing with everyone for the events. I am doing a panel because along with Jason Carl, I don't know how many people know this or not, but basically, along with Jason Carl, I helped launch LA by Night. So Jason and I and a few of the cast members are going to be talking about the process of getting that spun up and created for the fine family out there. I'm also going to be, for the first time in 20 or so years, I will also be LARPing while we are out there. I have been there is a character in LA by Night, a ghoul named Campbell, that Jason Carl created as sort of a tip of the hat to me. And he asked me if I would like to come play Campbell the Ghoul. So I am basically going to be I'm going to be the Wesley. If you've seen Daredevil, Wesley was the Kingpin's right-hand man. I'm basically B. Dave Walters' Wesley. I'm playing, if you don't know, Campbell the Ghoul is the right-hand man and bodyguard of one Baron Victor. So that's going to be fun. I'll be out there. So if you see me, just come say hi, but do it in character. You have to like hiss at me or something. That's going to be all my announcements. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say tonight? Nobody got any announcements? Really? Oh, okay. You can't. Y'all waited.
We're all just politely waiting.
I just like to fuck with Eric. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
All right. Whoever wants to go.
I'll go because everyone's being polite. Hi. As usual, in like 3 hours, 2 to 4 hours, the 3rd episode of Sacred Machinations will be airing on all podcast services. Sacred Machinations is the actual play podcast using a system I'm currently writing and developing called by the same name, Sacred Machinations. It's all about mechs and divinity and godhood, and for the actual play itself, honestly, a lot of very toxic queer relationships. But if you're into that kind of stuff, check it out on all podcast services. We're on episode 3 right now, or each episode is about an hour to an hour and a half, usually never longer than that. So fairly easy to consume and digest while you're doing work or commute or something like that. It's been a lot of fun. The episode 3 is going to be. Episode 3 ends on a cliffhanger that is, honestly was kind of scary for us as players. So I'm very curious to see what listeners think about it too.
All right, thank you, Drac. Anybody else have anything else to announce this evening?
Caitlin,
I'll take it. If you don't want to go, I'll go for it.
Yep.
I'm a broken record. I play GeoGuessr. I'm back streaming this week, so there's a new VOD on YouTube. You should check it out. You should check out all my VODs. I think all of them are around 2.5 hours long, aside from like 1 or 2. Great background viewing, if I do say so myself. It's really fun. We got promoted. We did a team game and we got promoted in our leaderboard this week, so it's pretty exciting. But you should check this out. I've got all of my VODs up on my YouTube channel.
Sweet. All right. Thank you, Caitlin. Go ahead, Noir.
tomorrow is our 3rd pull list episode, Crash of the Titans. You get to see how the Norse god Tyr met our stunt hero Crash. So be sure to check that out. Next week we have Noirville, StreamPunks Presents. as next Tuesday we have our end of the month Noirville game, Big B and Dash, and then Wednesday we have the return of Bad Meets Evil. So it's gonna be a big week. And I am adding more start playing game dates for Noirville, so be on the lookout for that. Shout out to my start playing games team. I'm still mad that y'all survived today.
I know your pain. All right, thank you, Noir. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say before we kick things off tonight? All right, go ahead.
Just very quickly, Morning People's gonna be a weirdo episode tomorrow. We're gonna I've been doing this for like 5 years. We're gonna have a does this stream work stream, like when you haven't been doing this for 5 years, but that's because we're going to be trying out a whole new operating system. Will it be messy? Yes. Will we not have our usual science story? Unfortunately, also yes. But we're gonna. I need to get off the Windows partition before 11 comes around. I want to do it, so we're gonna try Linux. Join me and tell me if my audio's borked tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific.
Thank you, Sam. And before we kick things off, I do want to give two big shout outs. First big shout out, just a huge congratulations to our friends over at Critical Role for 10 years. I got to go to their 10-year celebration. Just wanted to give a big shout out to everybody because it's such an incredible achievement. So congratulations, y'all. And then the last one, the big announcement is it's Geek Filter's birthday. It's Geek Filter's birthday, so if you can, please troll Geek Filter in chat with love. If you could, just inundate this person who's been kind enough to submit amazing fan art to us over and over.
You saw Captain Peaches in that intro reel. Got that slid in right before stream started.
Yep.
Geek Filter made those.
Yep. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's episode of The Last Excelsior. Welcome back, everybody, to The Last Excelsior. That was probably one of the most. That was abrupt. Let's go ahead and jump into the game. As a quick recap, y'all had a slugfest with a Jim Hadar attack ship. Little bit of cat and mouse in Nebula. Long story shorter, you managed to find some allies waiting for you when you scouted on the outskirts of the Nebula. You, of course, encountered a Mogai class warbird that was responding to a distress call sent out by one Peaches, Captain Peaches. y'all managed to lay the unholy smackdown on this very dangerous Jem'Hadar attack ship. The arrival of the Warbird certainly evened the odds. Essentially 2 battleships versus 1 small picket ship. So the odds ended up in y'all's favor. And along with the Romulan ship, you were able to utterly obliterate the Jem'Hadar attack ship. Now has been the aftermath. We're picking up tonight's story about roughly a couple of hours, I would say, maybe at most, after the battle itself. So there's been a decompress. There's been damage reports that have been done on the ship. Status reports from the crew coming in of any possible injuries. All of the crew members have been reunited. Hata is now back aboard the Excelsior class starship known as the USS Pride. And the Mogai class Romulan Warbird has fallen into formation alongside the USS Pride while you were all kind of at station keeping right now undergoing repairs. The Romulan ship in particular, who was fighting this Jem'Hadar attack ship on its own before the Pride came out of the nebula, has taken considerable more damage than the Pride did. And there's been multiple hull breaches along the starboard side where that polaron beam that nearly cut through your shields on 2 separate occasions got them good. You've since learned that about 7 Romulans were killed in the attack, and about 15 are in the infirmary right now, as there were some minor internal explosions. But all in all, considering the scope of the battle, it was a very successful, decisive victory on y'all's part. There has been some other updates too. Even though y'all are quite far away, you from most of any reinforcements or Federation presence, you are very close to a subspace relay station. So news is coming and going pretty fast. And you have all discovered from Starfleet Command that in just the past hours, a diplomatic firestorm has erupted because of the incident with the Dominion. The Dominion ambassador has been summoned, and the powers of the Alpha and Beta quadrants are all demanding a meeting with Dominion leadership. In just the past 45 minutes alone, Captain, you've gotten word back from Starfleet Command that the Dominion is claiming, much to the accuracy of the information you have on hand, the Dominion is saying that this particular attack ship was presumed lost by the Dominion because they never replied or responded to the recall order to return to base. They were just presumed lost or missing in action. This is, according to the Dominion, they are claiming that this is the first incident that they've heard of that the ship was even still in service or in action. So they're currently trying to calm things down a little bit. We're going to start off this episode, though, with a conversation that you were having in the conference room with the crew present with one Admiral Rollin, who is updating you on the situation. And as he's finished telling you what the diplomatic issues are, he also explains to you, Captain, that there's going to be a follow-up pretty soon, but that Starfleet intelligence has been alerted that your mission was successful and that you were able to retrieve a very high priority target. They are able to confirm to you that just as they had suspected before, that Dr. Jin Chang is indeed the Federation scientist from Section 31 that they suspected she was, and she is going to be summoned back to Earth to basically undergo trial. She's got a criminal record for what went down during the Dominion War. Casey and Jin don't know this yet. No one's really approached them. They are currently on board the Pride as guests. Right now, the crew and the Aux crew in general right now, everyone is kind of in the exhausted, buzzing aftermath of a fight. So the adrenaline is finally starting to wear off, and crew is trying to focus on their tasks, making sure systems are all operating, and morale is quite high right now. Everyone's feeling relieved and excited that everything went down the way it did. They're going to have stories to tell. At least they thought they were, because at that point is when Rollin says, which brings me to the next order of business. Unfortunately, at least for now, so that we can make sure we manage this situation, Starfleet is classifying the encounter you had with the Dominion attack ship. This has been agreed upon by the Klingon and Romulan governments, as we don't want to set off a panic across the quadrants. The last thing we need is news services everywhere telling everyone there's another Dominion war coming. So after a brief discussion with the Federation Council, there is a 1-week kibosh, as they say. There's not going to be any news reports coming out.
Understood, Admiral, but might I make one request?
Yes.
This scientist was able to synthesize Ketrasil light in a way that is plentiful and helpful for the Jem'Hadar. If our encounter is to be classified, I would simply request that the means of synthesizing the Ketrasil light be made available so that the Jem'Hadar who suffer this addiction from birth have a means to wean themselves off of it.
Captain, what the founders do to the Jem'Hadar and to the Vorta is horrific. It's unconscionable. It is akin to slavery, in my opinion. It is unimaginably unethical. And we have no power in how that is going to unfold. That is the responsibility of an alien government, and we simply don't have the authority to tell them what to do.
I believe that they gave up that right when we encountered their fighter. I'm glad that we both agree that this is what has been done to them is ethically monstrous. Admiral, I'm asking for some good to be done from this horrific encounter, and I think it will be an olive branch amongst the stick that we have to hit the Dominion with.
He shifts uncomfortably and says, I'm sorry, Captain, but I'm just being very direct with you, but that's just not something the Federation has any say in. And the Dominion is fully capable of producing Ketracel White in any quantity it needs. I think, if I can be honest with you, the Dominion is going to be shocked and upset to learn that we have somebody in our possession that has been able to synthesize Ketracel White outside of the Dominion. It's only been done once or twice before, but now we have somebody in our possession who can mass manufacture it if they need to. And that alone is going to agitate the Dominion. Not that I give a damn, but the truth of the matter is the Dominion is still very much... He pauses then. And Captain, without having to make an insight check, because you've known Rollin for a while, and particularly you, Cadence, Rollin looks like he is not enjoying what he is saying. He looks like he's very uncomfortable. Those Admiral pips, that the bars on his collar look like they're really heavy all of a sudden. He says, I tell you what, Captain, I will bring it up. But I couldn't tell you that it's going to happen any more than if I demanded that the Romulan Star Empire change their government to something else. It's just not in the Federation purview.
Well, it's picking these fights that improves the Federation's purview. I'll count on you, Admiral, to make this right. Besides, that's what we're here for. To do better.
Well, speaking of which, there's another issue that's complicating things at this moment. Your Vorta guest has officially requested asylum.
That sounds about right.
Did not see that coming, but the Federation is not inclined to tell them no. So that is currently being debated at the moment, not whether or not it will happen, just what the consequences might be. The Treaty of Bajor gives the powers of the Alpha and Beta Quadrants a lot of latitude here. The Dominion is not allowed through that wormhole, so it's not like they could come and get him. But we don't want to antagonize where we don't have to. So we're coming up with a message. And it might be one of those things where Starfleet intelligence just has to give him a new identity and set him up somewhere where the Dominion can't find him. But the truth of the matter is Federation Council is inclined to grant this request. But what it means, Captain, is at least for the time being, it sounds like you're going to have to hold on to him for a bit until we can find out exactly how we're going to proceed with this. The Vorta, of course, are unique in their ranking structure inside the Dominion. We're still trying to fully understand how that societal link works when one wants to claim asylum. It's happened once before, but that's back when Odo was still working with us over on Deep Space Nine. We don't have any founders that are working with the Federation right now, so I'll keep you posted about it. But as of this moment, please consider the Vorta captive no longer a captive, but as a guest of the Federation and someone who we are going to grant asylum to. And
here you all wondered if the Pride still had it.
I have never questioned the Pride. Although I am pleased to see that you guys came out of it okay at the end of this. The Romulan government has also contacted us and has extended its gratitude. Of course, this is looking good for both sides right now since they rushed to save you and then you rushed to save them. So,
one hand washing the other. What can I say?
Indeed. Also, if I may, Commander Cadence, I looked at the flight reports. Nicely done. You and Griffin Wing are making me look real good over here.
Look even better back in the cockpit, sir.
He smiles. Captain, I have to send a full commendation to you and your crew for the performance at this battle and for getting the job done. And if I may, I can say right now that there's going to be serious considerations for some accommodations coming to each individual for their performance. And I think it's safe to say, if you will permit me to continue heaping my praise, Captain, but I think it's safe to say that to Aeon, don't get too comfortable with the pips on your collar. We might be adding a few over time. You've definitely gotten the attention of Starfleet Command for your well-performed rescue during this operation.
Well, with hindsight, I thought it was a bit reckless, but if you say so, Admiral.
Oh, it was reckless. But as somebody who's flown with reckless, sometimes reckless gets the job done.
Sure, I have a name.
I definitely looked at Cadence the moment he said that.
Congratulations to all of you. Job well done. I'll keep you all informed about as developments come through.
Thank you, Admiral. And of course, I will be sending recommendations for individuals I think have earned their spot and acclaim, along with some very interesting records, in particular about a interesting variant on warping that was handled by Commander Tavi.
Interesting. I look forward to reading it. We'll contact you here in the next day or so as you're undergoing repairs, and I should have some kind of mission parameter or two for you. But in the meantime, the USS Pride is ordered to hold its station keeping until repairs are done, and then getting underway. Once again, returning to Starbase, and we're going to take that prisoner off your hands.
Sounds great. You know, I wouldn't mind a mission lounging in Ryza if you have that in the docket.
I think one's long overdue, Captain. I will see what I can do.
All right, Admiral. Have a good one.
Starfleet Command out. Wall clicks off.
Both,
And you see
both siblings immediately looked perturbed by the concept of downtime. That was extremely funny.
Okay, but can I sunbathe in a peregrine on the beach? And do I have to be out of uniform? And does the propulsion have to be off?
I mean, if it's supposed to be recreational, surely that is subjective to the individual. I will therefore be going Zoom.
Well, if anyone needs me, I'm going to be working on getting the galley all set up. I need something to do. Idle time is not wonderful for my brain. So, if you need me, you know where I'll be.
Captain? Pavan raises his hand.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if this was preemptive to bring it up, but I thought I might. But I wanted to let you know that repair crews all throughout the decks right now are observing some anomalous readings in the plasma conduit system. I know that's pretty vague, but I'm hyper paranoid right now, sir.
Repercussions of our jump.
I think so, but we don't know exactly what this means just yet. So I'm keeping an eye on it because obviously the plasma induction system means whether or not the ship explodes. But I'm not detecting any issues like that, sir. I just wanted to let you know that it's something we're tracking at the moment. And as soon as we have some information, then I'll send it your way.
Well, I am going to count on you to make sure that the ship doesn't explode on us. Tell me what you need to make that happen, and I'll send it to you forthwith.
Aye, sir.
Anyone else?
Dr. Conway says, I'm doing a report where I'm having crew members come to sickbay for the next 4 or 5 days just to check in them, make sure everyone's doing okay after the battle. But the crew has held up remarkably well, Captain. Everyone seems to be handling everything quite well.
Wonderful to hear it. And everyone, make sure that you are going to your regularly scheduled doctor's appointments. I would hate to have to order you to go. That was a joke.
There's some smiles and chuckling around the table. Well then, Hata says, I keep piping up, says, I believe everyone is now dismissed.
Aye. Actually, Doctor, you might have a list already, but do you mind if I jump ahead and get my checkup done a little bit early?
Why don't you follow me down to sickbay now?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you will step out with the doctor. Anybody else headed out, or does anybody else want some time with the captain and the commander?
I'll just I mean, the captain's going to be heading down the lift for
the galley. Yeah.
So I'll just catch him then.
Okay.
Pull the old walk and talk.
The West Wing walk and talk. Yeah.
Third week in a month, we got a last week reference. Let's go.
Inferior to the wheel and spiel, but what are you going to do?
Atta takes to the bridge and takes the center chair as you head to the turbo lift.
I'm just going to shoulder check my sister lovingly for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, right, you get like a delayed elbow. It just like barely like whiffs you.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. So you're on your way down to the. You step into the turbo lift. You're on your way down to the galley.
I think I'll see Cadence. I guess I'm holding the door for you then.
Hey, everything good is down that way. My peregrines. Your galley.
I thought you said good.
I thought we made you look pretty good, Captain.
You did, and I'm glad that you all made it back in one piece.
As ordered, sir.
Well, we've got a healthy trend of you starting to follow orders. I think I'd like to see that continue.
Noted, sir. I'll definitely see what I can do about that. at every possible opportunity. Were you serious about that Cutter White, sir?
Yes.
You want the word out?
Of course I do, but it is currently against orders for that to occur.
And no one in Starfleet should do any such thing to countermand orders. Yes, sir?
I think this is where I press the stop button on the turbo lift.
Turbo lift comes to a stop.
So very clearly you have ideas.
I would never dream of evading the spirit of an order, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. He takes the pin off. So clearly you have ideas.
Not everyone on this ship capable of getting the word out is Starfleet.
I believe that our aim is to do good, is to unright wrongs that have been committed in the name of war. But I have to weigh that against the careers and the lives of everyone on this ship. And if a civilian on this ship were to receive that information, it would still be an infraction on the crew of this vessel.
That is true, sir. Is that an answer?
If we're just thinking about thoughts in our heads.
Of course, sir. I've had one or two.
Yeah. I think it's very important that we keep our lips sealed because there is a rather inquisitive reporter who has a tendency of finding information that he shouldn't and broadcasting it in such a way that it gets everywhere extraordinarily quickly. And it would just be the darndest shame if he got his hands on information that he shouldn't. It'd be a lot harder to condemn the entire crew when this particular individual has a habit of breaking our rules despite our very best efforts to enforce them.
And in the name of the freedom of the press, which the Federation holds so dear, sir.
It's one of the pillar stones of any civilized society.
And although Starfleet values its security priorities, it would never do so at the expense of essential freedoms.
I mean, if anything, such a slip would give cause for the Federation to double down on its effort of ensuring our information remains secure, if such a thing were to ever happen.
Well, then I should talk to the reporter on our ship and ensure that he has no such intentions and direct him away from any such investigations on his part. And I'll turn the on and I'll push for Brock's floor.
Okay. All right.
Good talk.
Turbo lift resumes.
Sir, next time you're frustrated with evading the spirit of an order?
Mm-hmm.
Never mind. I'll get off at my deck.
All right.
I'll go into the galley.
All right. You head over to the galley. Interestingly enough, when you arrive at the galley, as soon as you walk into what was, of course, once being used just as a storage area, as an old galley on this Excelsior class starship, you find waiting for you inside the galley is not only Westsot, who is having a very interesting conversation with a Vorta who has joined him here inside the galley. The Vorta and he are alone here right now, but you see a bunch of containers and equipment that has been strapped down or delivered into the space. And it looks like the galley itself is currently being set up. And you see a lot of the old spaces that were being used for storage have been upgraded or updated to allow for stoves and such to be installed. So you see a lot of this when you come in. You also notice that one of the food replicators, one of the larger food replicators, has been reactivated down here and is currently online. But when you step into the room, Westsot immediately stiffens up and says, "Oh, Captain, there's a Vorta on board."
What? Someone get me tactical.
Well, I often don't get the chance to enjoy humor like this where I'm from.
Good. How's the galley coming? And Jared's going to take off the uniform and he just has like an undershirt on and he's going to start like putting things together.
Okay. Westside just says, it's coming together quite well, Captain. Obviously, we had to stop because things got a little fuzzy there for a minute, but everything seems to be coming together pretty well. I think all the equipment that I've requested, they were able to replicate, which is still just mind-blowing that there's an industrial replicator in the cargo bay. But sure enough, we've got new equipment down here that serves all the functions I need. The only thing we're missing is ingredients. But I'm able to put some things together thanks to some of the very few ingredients that I did have at my disposal, mostly soups though. Everything else seems to be replicated at the moment. But I've been trying to have that conversation with Nados here, and I don't think it's going quite. Neldos is the is sort of my taste tester for the replicator at the moment. And Neldos turns and says, "My secret's out."
No, I know that that's not true. I have to say, from captive to refugee in record time, impressive.
It is worth pointing out, since there has been a time elapse, I'm going to go ahead and give you all the name. The Vorta, who was never formally introduced to anyone, his name is Neldos, Neldos. He was not formally introduced to a lot of the crew. So if anybody is interested in what the name was to that, you know who Westsot is referring to, Neldos is the name of the Vorta.
Oh, I had an M at the beginning. Got it. Thank you.
I also had an M.
Well, my sound was kind of choppy last week, so that's not surprising. But yeah,
that is just funny.
Yeah. So Neldos, by the way, does have indeed soups, and you can recognize the scent from that soup wafting off of the surface. It is indeed the Bajoran dish that he had requested. Ratamba stew. It's never quite as good replicated. Nothing ever really is. But the Vorta seems to be enjoying it. Neldos is just, does taste a little different. Not quite as good as it was when I had it back during the war, but there are some things that are worth sacrificing for.
Mind if I taste?
Oh, of course. He hands you the bowl.
This is pretty good. You know, I have to be honest, this is probably the best this has ever tasted. I never had it made from a Bajoran. My mother made it. Did our best to learn Bajoran dishes, but you know.
I've heard of the species talking about having a mother that makes them food.
Yeah. I guess you would consider doing things the old-fashioned way, huh?
Vorta do not have parents. We are genetically engineered to serve the founders. It is our great honor.
Is that what you're doing here?
Oh, heavens, no. No. I'm running. I'm running far, far away.
Are you running from the founders?
I serve the founders. Make no mistake, Captain. Founders are everything. However, they would have me executed if I returned, and quite frankly, I am enjoying food. You see, Vorta are not allowed to taste things. Perhaps you didn't know this. We are engineered in such a way to not be able to participate in some of the finer things in life, unfortunately. We don't know what we're missing, as it were, but we do just fine on our own. And I was completely satisfied, as most Vorta are, until I realized that I had a genetic anomaly in my batch. It happens from time to time, but I discovered very quickly that I could taste things. When I realized that I had a yearning to taste as much food as I possibly could, and that's very difficult to do when you're dead. So I had started making my plans to look for a new assignment. Unfortunately, I think the Jem'Hadar kind of caught on to the rather zealot way I was going about it. Is that the correct way of saying it? I was a little eager to end our assignment in the Alpha Quadrant. I don't believe they thought my intentions were sincere. I think they knew how much I enjoyed good cooking. But I also think they were just looking for an excuse so they could go die gloriously in the name of the founders, which you helped them with. Thank you for that.
Always free to lend a hand when I can. You mind if I ask you a couple of questions? You're very interesting.
Oh, thank you. Yes, please. I don't get to talk about myself often.
Do you like food?
Indeed, I do. I find it to be informative, a great way to learn about cultures, aside, of course, from analyzing the psychology and profiles of possible worlds to conquer and subjugate. But for me, I find that tasting food is a better way of knowing people. And also, I did not know I had the ability to do it. For the longest time, I just assumed, because I was told. It was ingrained in me that I did not have this ability, so I ignored it. But then, little by little, as maturity began to take hold and I had my second birthday, as you might call it, I began to realize I know what marinara tastes like.
You're a walking, talking allegory of the cave.
Ah, yes, one of the human philosophers. Oh, human history is so adorable. And in many ways, tragic, yes. Quite tragic. The founders, they rescued us, of course, from such a terrible, terrible history unto ourselves.
What do you feel for other Vorta that can't eat? Or can't enjoy taste, rather?
He considers that for a moment and he goes, superior, I suppose?
That's one way to go about it. That's one way. That's what led to a lot of the tragedy in human history. Can I offer you a different perspective?
I don't
Just
often
out of curiosity.
I don't often think of the other Vorta, to be honest with you. I don't think the Vorta think much of themselves. Most of our existence is spent honoring the founders. That is first and foremost in our minds, which is a shame. I think for all of this to be worth it, we should think beyond just that which we hold most dear. We should look beyond ourselves and explore and acquire new tastes and get to know new peoples.
Is that not what you're doing?
It is now. I have spent the past few years, of course, in a cell, but yes, I think so.
So you're out here exploring, meeting new people, tasting new tastes. Life is good. Refugee on a Federation ship. And I can assure you, we will do everything that we can to keep you safe, comfortable, and fed.
I'm happy to hear that, Captain. I hope you know it's very unlikely the Federation will grant me true asylum. I'm too much of a resource for information. I'm sure they'll probably make a big show of it, wanting to be the shining beacons of all that is compassionate and good, all of the wonderfully naive things that the Federation loves to talk about. But in the end, I have no doubt that they'll see me as an agent of the Founders, much like the Jem'Hadar who you killed. I mean, let's be honest, Captain. Pretending to be a prisoner so that I could get on board the USS Pride and sabotage something would have been out of the playbook during the Dominion War. But I assure you, that is not the case here. No. I would not sacrifice my life and miss the opportunity to try more of this. And he holds up the bowl of stew in front of him. I cannot wait to explore all of Bajoran cuisine.
I'd like to sit with you and do that. There are many dishes from my people that I haven't had the opportunity to try yet. And I'd like to have more conversations like this with you.
That sounds delightful.
Well, I did come down to do some work, put some of this stuff together. Are you good with tools?
Tools?
Right. I think he's gonna go to one of the old shelves and pull out just an old school toolkit. Screwdrivers, socket, wrenches, hammers, that sort of thing. Are you familiar with these?
Of course I am, but that would be the Jem'Hadar's job.
On this ship, it's everybody's.
Huh. He nods and it stares at it and then takes a sip of soup.
Jared's gonna go underneath a piece of machinery and go, fill up screwdriver, please. And he's just going to make this. He's going to try and get this Vorta to help him build something.
The Vorta goes, well, it sounds like teammates talking to one another, and I should go enjoy this soup before if you'll excuse me. And with that, he walks out. Westlock goes, I think he was talking to I, Captain, Phillips screwdriver. Screwdriver? Is that, I'm sorry, sir, is that like a spanner or a, is that, is it this?
It's the long one with the like cross on the top of the ship.
Oh. Yes. A snurget. And he hands it to you. We have a different word for this in Bullion. And he hands it over to you.
Can I have the snurget? Thank you.
Yes, there you are.
He's just gonna build. He's gonna help put this place together.
Okay. Westsot, by the way, being an engineer who has just happened to be a captain, is very excited to help you. As he squats down and holds up a light, he holds up the lamp and he goes, I really appreciate how you're kind of doing this the old-fashioned way, Captain. I mean, a lot of this equipment is, what's the word that I've heard Cadence use? Was it Cadence who said retro? No, I think it was Peaches. Somebody said it on the deck. Maybe it was Santos.
I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be Cadence that said retro. Let's not use the word Cadence would use. Let's say antique.
Antique, yeah. Captain, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I really like Nelda. The Vorta, very good conversationalist.
Mm-hmm.
Nelda's kind of scares me a little bit, sir, if you don't mind my saying. He's just very nice, but says things every now and then. And it's like a collection of nice things. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the nice thing, he'll say something. And I think, what did he just say? And then he just keeps going with the nice thing. And I have to think back like 5 minutes later of like, did he say? There are obvious cultural differences, sir. And I'm trying to be mindful of that. But I mean, I spent, a long time running from Vorta like him. And, it's nice to be able to cook for him. But are we okay? Are we safe?
Here, you can take the snurget back. I'm done with it.
Exactly.
Here, and he's gonna go from under it. Your instincts are correct.
But I'm not being closed-minded. I want to be welcoming, but he just scares me a little bit, I think.
He is waiting for an opportunity. He is something new and afraid. And at the earliest opportunity to gain the advantage at the cost of whomever and whatever, he will most likely take it.
Oh,
But find comfort in this. He is alone. He is alone, and he doesn't know how to not be alone. The Vorta's only relationship are with the Jem'Hadai, and they do not see the Jem'Hadai as individuals worthy of understanding and respect, but as snurgits.
yeah, I'm just. That makes sense. I didn't partake, obviously, in the Dominion War. I was spending most of my time trying to get away from it, but I've heard plenty of stories about the Jem'Hadar, and I feel somewhat I'm just really glad they're not. I feel bad saying this, sir. I'm just kind of glad they're not here anymore.
There's nothing wrong with that. It was troubling times when they were here. This Vorcha will either learn to continue adapting, or they won't. But rest easy. He's got to watch his back at all times because he doesn't know any other way. And someone here is always watching yours.
He nods and says, Zarya already has a security detail following him around. So there's that.
Yep. And we have a Taeyeon, so I'm not in the slightest bit concerned.
All right. The two of you start rolling your sleeves up and doing some work down here. And it is indeed therapeutic work, Captain. You find yourself, Westsot likes to carry on, Bolians being affable people. The Westsot is not far removed from the stereotype that gets thrown at the Bolian species. He is very affable and likes to talk a lot. It does become a soothing conversation, however, as the two of you basically learn a little bit more about one another.
I'm learning all the Bolian names for tools.
Yeah, he's kind of taking you through a few of them. He also explains that he and the Vorta bonded over the fact that Bolians taste things differently as well, since they have cartilage in their tongues. He's like, usually we require bolder tastes in a lot of our foods. And, well, I was letting him sample some of the stronger tastes that we have in the replicator, and that's what got us talking. You also learn from Westsot that he occasionally checks in with his former first mate, the Orion, and has learned that a lot of the people that he was shuttling back and forth have been settled and are finding new places right now. So he keeps up to date with a lot of the refugees that he was helping back when y'all first rescued him. Tells you that that young whippersnapper, younger brother, Orion, that got everybody into trouble way back in the day, has actually made something of a name for himself as a new security officer in training. So not with the Federation, just colony security. And that he spends the next 20 minutes telling you a wholesome story about how he's helping people find their lost animals on the new colony.
Oh,
yeah.
I just leave it with if that kid ever needs a captain's referral, just say when.
Westsot says, "Oh, he'll be very happy to hear that." Yeah, as it turns out, some of the power grid went down and some of the farm animals got out, and he spent about 2 weeks gathering them all together again. And on day 3, there was a story about how he helped deliver a new calf, and now it's kind of like what he's doing. He's just kind of helping take care of the animals. I think that kid needed something a little more less exciting. And I think that it's going to do well for him.
Good to know. Spligget, please.
You can see the Spligget. All right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to do? Yeah, Cadence, what you got?
I am going to talk to Bragg. Also, it seems like at minimum, birds and sharks also have cartilaginous tongues. I will continue researching this.
Do sharks have tongues? I don't know that sharks have tongues.
Well,
Plenty of cartilage to go around, though.
That's true, given that they are a cartilaginous species. But yes, it's called basahial, which or something similar in terms of pronunciation. I assume it is related to the bird word here, which is hyaloid. Yeah, it's a hyaloid cartilage. Anyway, I'm going to talk to Brock.
Okay.
I'm up in my Brock sheet.
All right. Let me see where you're going to find Brog Pavbent. He is going to be located.
Yeah, I'm going
he'll be in main sickbay.
Oh, all right. Well,
as you walk in, sickbay is quite full, but it doesn't look like there's injuries down here. It looks like people just going through quick questionnaires and getting scans and making sure everybody is okay. The medical term would be everyone's just going through a level 1 health diagnostic, just kind of moving through. I'm sorry, level 5 health diagnostic, where everyone's just kind of moving through, getting the scan, making sure there's no broken bones or anything like that. Remember, the Pride got rocked pretty hard during that fight on more than a couple occasions. And the doctor is also just kind of checking in people mental health wise after a battle, just to make sure everyone's on the level and everyone's feeling good about things. Brog is in here interviewing people. And you walk in to Dr. Conway saying, I understand, but I am the chief medical officer of the sick bay. And if you want to interview people, you can do that in a galley area or somewhere public, but not here. Kindly wait outside and allow us to do our jobs. And Brog is getting ready to counter with, you can't deny the press. I've been given free reign over this ship, but Dr. Conway is not having it. When you hear him say that, Conway whirls on him and says, and you are violating my patient's privacy. Get out of my sickbay right now, or I will have Zarya remove you. And Brog just deactivates his recorder and says, don't need to invoke the Z name. I'm out. Turns and stops and looks at you and says, Commander, you were flying. Would you like to have an interview? You want to talk a little bit about the battle and give me your perspective?
Why don't we go down to my shuttle bay? We can get in the sorry little cubicle excuse I have for a ready room. We can talk.
Commander refers to the shuttle bay as theirs. Let's go.
I don't think the recorder heard you loud enough. Click it again. I refer to it as mine. I didn't actually wait for the click.
Okay, so you guys are heading down to main shuttle bay. The ride to main shuttle bay is always a good few moments because you actually head down the turbo lift and then travel the length of the ship before you reach the main shuttle bay. But on the way, it's just
feeling better?
Brog looks up and he goes, oh, yeah. Oh, Tellarites bounce back. Well, I'm fine.
Everyone's individual and, a little bit's been going on. Hadn't been able to check in.
I'm still I can't stop thinking about our Klingon friend. I know she's still out there, and I know her and her crew are kind of like cloaked from time or whatever the hell it was that we discovered. And I often worry about her, especially because there's no way she could keep track of us after everything that's just happened. So I wonder when we're going to run into her again and if we're ever going to see her again. But I guess it's going to be up to her to find us. My guess is she'll probably linger around the starbase because she knows that we're kind of basing our operation out of there. But I don't know what happens next.
Well, we've been running the Great Material Continuum to try to get her what she needs.
He nods, says, I just hope she's doing all right. I mean, she scares the piss out of me, but I don't think anyone deserves to blink out of existence. I mean, as a reporter, it's literally my job to tell the story. And I can't think of anything more abhorrent than a story just vanishing, people being forgotten. Well, I mean, I could think of some pretty abhorrent things. Maybe I shouldn't have made the comparison, but I'm just saying it's
fine
bad.
Sense of imagination.
Yeah.
Let's have ghosts.
Kind of. Yeah. Not like humans or Bajorans with their paw wraiths or anything like that. No, we don't have anything like it's not quite like ghosts. It's more like I guess the best way to describe it would be sort of like psychic echoes is what the way to describe it. It's not how we describe it. We have visitations and dreams. We think those are the equivalent of ghosts. We sometimes feel like our ancestors visit us in dreams.
Okay, so altogether, nothing is nightmare fuel as what our Klingon compatriot is going through. It always reminds me when I think about her what
yeah.
it'd be like if you were a ghost.
Right.
Not the equivalent. Understood.
Yeah.
Just through here.
How's the sister? How's the sibling?
Best pilot of any Excelsior class in Starfleet. You click that. I'll say it again. I'll say it louder.
He says, "Oh, we're off the record, but if you want to put that on, I totally."
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Any non-small craft. Best.
You
write it down. You write it down twice.
You lead him into an area where there's a lot of repair work going on. And stepping through one of the corridors, you find yourselves in sort of one of those industrial looking corridors where the floor looks rubberized. You can see a lot of the piping and plasma conduits exposed on the walls. You're kind of down here in the lower parts of the deck of the ship where there's not a lot of people coming and going. It basically looks like a very large Jeffries tube. The two of you come to a stop near one of the consoles, and he looks around, noticing that there's no one else around here. And he goes, "You planning on punching me or something? What are we doing down here?"
I could have done that in public.
I was gonna say, why didn't you?
Yeah,
No,
well-
don't. I'm just you don't.
Oh, okay, because I could just.
No.
Sure.
Yeah, no. I'm
Okay,
good.
change your mind. Say the word.
What is this? I can smell you want to tell me something. What's going on?
I don't want to tell you anything, bro.
Okay. Listen, you're a very attractive person, but I typically date people my height, and I'm not really I don't know how to say this. I don't think I could ever be in a relationship with a Starfleet officer. There's just it's inconsistent. You know, y'all are always flying around the galaxy, and I just don't think it would work. So I'm flattered, though. Really, like I'm sure you could have your pick of the mill, but not me. I'm afraid. So
Okay.
you're taking this really well. I was a little nervous there for a second, but yeah. Well, all right.
Can we talk about the thing I wanted to talk about now, or do you want to let down some of the other people in the shuttle bay?
Well, then what the hell did you bring me down here for?
What's gotten around the ship about the encounter we were just in? How much have you picked up?
All right, fair enough. I think we've kind of hit that point in a relationship where we're kind of a source for each other. So
No relationship. You were very clear about that, Brock.
yeah. What I'm saying is, you want to know the scuttlebutt. That's fine, but in exchange, so long as it doesn't break any uniform code or whatever you call it, would you be willing to tell me a few of ambiguously what's?
I'm trying to find out what you already know.
All right. Well, what's
unless you just want me to tell you things you already know.
I just want to know if you can tell me anything that's going to happen next. What's Command thinking about doing? I know there's a Vorta on board. I know that we just got into a fight with a Dominion attack ship. And I've noticed that no news has been hit in the airwaves just yet. I also know that I've received communique directly from Admiral Rollin telling me that the Federation Council is basically blocking out any stories that I write about what the incident happened. And for security purposes, I will be given the scoop, but I have to wait at least 7 days. So obviously something's happened around here, right?
I mean, I don't think you'd hear from the Federation Council about an embargo if there weren't.
Right.
Something worthwhile.
So you want to know what the crew is talking about?
I just wanted to know how much you already knew. I'm telling you. I don't.
I know
Buddy,
that.
If I want information,
I know that we
anyone on
rescued a
this
couple.
ship.
Yeah, I know that we rescued a couple of people, and that they're currently under lock and key with security, supposedly for their protection. I know that there's a Vorta on board that's being stalked by a security team as well. And I know that there's a Mogai class Romulan warbird just off our starboard. And that repairs are underway. And there's lots of talk about. Well, there's a lot of talk about there's a lot of talk about some kind of propulsion experiment that took place. That's kind of the discussion below decks right now.
Oh, that one you're gonna want to interview someone else. I wasn't even there for that.
Right.
You were there more than I was. I still have to find out what the hell my sister did. But gotta understand. I am a Starfleet officer in good standing, and I can't tell you anything. I can ask you some questions. Reverse interview. What do you think?
He looks at you for a long moment without saying anything. You can see the intelligence twinkling in his eyes. He starts catching on what's happening. And he says, I can say anonymous source.
Only if I told you something, which I can't. I'm a Starfleet officer in good standing, so...
Reaches over and deactivates the recorder.
You know that there's a Vorta on our ship.
I've heard rumors there's a Vorta on the ship, yeah.
You know we got into a fight with a Dominion vessel.
Yep.
Who do you suppose would have crewed that kind of vessel?
Crude? I mean...
Crewed. You know, fly it, shoot it.
Unless they've changed their hiring practices, I'm going to guess the Jem'Hadar.
I mean, that sounds like a logical guess to me. I couldn't possibly. I
Okay.
mean, I was in a ship. I didn't see any individuals personally. But doesn't that strike you as a little strange? If that were the case?
He stares at you for a moment and says, are you making fun of me right now?
I am a Starfleet officer in good standing.
All right. Yeah, no, I don't find that strange. I think Jem'Hadar typically fly Jem'Hadar ships.
So you think there's nothing strange about us encountering them?
Well, it's a violation of the Treaty of Bajor, and it could spark another damn war, I'm sure.
Yeah, that seems pretty unusual. How do you
Yeah.
suppose they got out here?
Well, it's not likely they could have crossed through the wormhole.
You're a journalist. You would have known that over the news wires, right?
Possibly. But
Mhm.
nothing can sneak in and out of the wormhole, especially
Exactly.
now.
Yeah, you
They
would
have
have heard about it.
tachyon nets all over that thing, and it's not like the door opens and closes subtly.
Not from what I understand. So,
So I
what do you
suppose
speculate would have happened with them? Because I couldn't possibly comment. I'm a Starfleet officer in good standing.
he thinks about this for a moment and says, somebody snuck them in? Somehow? They piggyback on a starship? They've always been here?
Those sound like some possibilities. Those definitely sound like some possibilities to me. I couldn't speak to any of them. But you think they would have brought enough warm jackets? You think they'd have everything they needed?
All right, now it's time for a check.
Yeah. All right.
This is to find out if he is picking up what you're putting down.
I'm just like he can get there on his own. This is his
You're like,
check.
I didn't say a fucking thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not saying a thing. He has all the information he needs, and I'm giving him genuinely zero extra.
I think he's trying. This is to find out if he can pick up what you mean by bring enough warm jackets. So I would say,
All right, sure.
make an insight command check here. With the difficulty, it's Prague, so I think a difficulty of only 1 is appropriate.
All right.
He's pretty
Okay.
clever.
Okay. Insight command. Okay, could be better, but we have 1, so that's good enough.
You see him looking at you like you have absolutely just lost your mind for a moment. And then he pauses and says, no, I suppose it'd be a problem since you can only use jackets to a limited extent before you need more jackets.
Yeah.
So you need something that got you more jackets. And it's not like that's easy to synthesize. It's a highly kept secret on behalf of their employers.
Sure is.
Holy shit. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Lots of implications. So is there a place?
Like what?
Well, I mean, you would need a place that made jackets, wouldn't you?
What kind of place makes jackets?
I don't know. Are there
What
any
do you need
ski
to make
resorts out here? I guess you need the materials to make jackets.
That's true.
So there's
Are
a
the materials what's hard to come by with jackets? I've never made one.
He shrugs and says, beats the hell out of me. It's one of the most closely regarded secrets. I mean, it's the system of control. They built you so you have to have jackets. And if you don't get jackets, then you go on a murderous rampage and kill everyone. And then eventually yourself. It's pretty disgusting, but it's kind of how they maintain control.
I'm just going to take off my jacket.
Okay.
Just
Why
as
did
we
you
keep
take off-
talking about jackets getting mad and killing everyone, I just take off a jacket.
As you take off your jacket, he goes, okay. So there's somewhere out here. Wait, there's someone here. There's someone here who makes jackets? Oh. Oh. And that's... So then why is there a Vorta on board, though? Wait, the Vorta's not a prisoner. What the hell? It's sitting right in front of me. I thought... Who are our guests?
That's an interesting question. Well, one we've had for a while now. I'm sure you met her.
No.
Ah, you should. She's a ball.
What's her name?
Casey, we had her for past week or so.
Casey. Is
Yeah.
she... Wait,
Oh,
Casey's the name of the smuggler we rescued.
That seems like a very harsh word, but that's one of the people we've got with us, yeah.
Wait a minute, Casey's still here on the ship? This is to do... Wait a minute, Casey's sister. See, this is what happens when you spend most of the reveal crap inside of a barrel hiding from weapons fire. So... She's a scientist. You see it finally click, and he goes, holy sh... You're not supposed to... Hold
And
up.
I didn't.
All
Brog.
right. This is finally starting to I'm
You have
waking
any
up.
information you didn't already.
I will make damn sure it does not get back.
Because I gave you nothing. And I'm going to continue giving you nothing. And do you understand? Can you tell me why that is, Brock?
Because you're a fine, upstanding Starfleet officer, etc.,
That's
etc.
right. Now get out. I've already told you I don't want a relationship.
Too bad. Those are good arms. He turns as you're holding your jacket to your side. He steps to the entryway and pauses for a second, and he goes, "Hey, Cadence, you've kind of saved my bacon once before, so I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm doing this not as a reporter. I'm just going to try to return the favor, and for a moment, just get real with you and ask you, you sure you want me to do this? I'll do it. I think I should do it, but stories like this, they get big fast. I just want to make sure you know what you're getting into, even though you're not getting into anything."
That's right. But I'll answer your question with a question. Do you think it's the right thing to do? See you around.
You walk past him, and he's just left there thinking about that for a moment. All right. Down in sick bay, Dr. Conway is running a quick scan on your arm to Aeon. She just says, has it been giving you any problems since the operation? The military, the rescue operation.
No, it's been fine, I think. If anything, I just wanted a quick checkup because I did quite a lot of reckless things that I don't think any of my cybernetics were really built for. I'm not entirely sure I was built for. Just want to make sure everything's A-okay.
She pauses and says, you know, they do regulate certain enhancements made to cybernetics, mostly for the safety of the one whose system they are installed into. But things have come a long way, and you do pretty dangerous security work. Maybe it's worth looking into. You don't need to have a phaser firing out of your wrist, but it might be worth looking into getting something that could help you.
I kind of look down at my arm, my leg.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, when I ended up getting these, I was not promised, but told that I'd be given a more boring assignment. So I didn't think it would be necessary to really go all out with my cybernetics.
I'm going to tell you a little secret. And she sets down the tricorder and says, when I was being offered my very first chief medical officer role, it was after I made the request for something a little more quiet. I'm sure you know very well, as anybody who served in Starfleet during the Dominion War, that it was a lot for everybody. And being a medical officer, it was a lot. And I was looking forward to maybe settling on some small research vessel. And I imagined myself sipping tea and catching up on reports that were coming in from Starfleet Medical. And I did for about 2 years. And I just missed it too much. I started putting in my requests to see if there were any positions available on any starships. And the truth is that after the war, we weren't just short-staffed, we were short-shipped. Because now there's the issue with the Romulans and the Hobus Star. I didn't think I was going to get a chance to get back on Starship. The point that I'm trying to make to Aeon is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting a quieter life. And I'm sure that if you really wanted to, you could put in a request to transfer, especially after what you just pulled. My guess is Command would let you request a position anywhere right now. If you want to spend the rest of your tour of duty back on Vulcan, I'm sure they would let you. If you wanted to spend it at Starfleet Command or even the Academy, it's something to think about. Yeah. But if you feel like you're doing good out here and you want to keep going, let me know. And we can explore options. Right now, I can tell, based off of the checkup I did on her, without violating any of her privacy, that there's at least one person on the ship that is very grateful you were reckless.
You could probably check in on her.
She snaps her tricorder close and goes, "You're fine." Sets the tricorder down. Everything's checking out. Little heightened stress levels, but that's pretty typical for a Vulcan who has not undergone Kulinar. So you're all good to go.
I think after speaking to Casey, I'll be taking the holodeck for a while to see if I can get some of this excess energy out.
I recommend swimming. It's one of the best exercises you could do.
I'll give
Try
it a go.
Swimming 200 meters in ice cold water. I hear it's very safe.
I'll give it a go.
She nods. And Sam was never seen again. there are some people that will get the inside joke that was just casually thrown at Sam, but
Oh no, I just took it.
But yeah, she snaps closed the tricorder and goes back to some of the other patients. Pats you on the shoulder.
I'm gonna go see if I can find. When I said Cassie, it's Casey and
Casey.
Jen.
Yeah.
Casey. Okay, cool.
Casey.
Casey and Jen. I'm gonna try and find them.
Okay, they are currently in their quarters. When you arrive at their quarters, there is a security detail standing out front. However, you, being the chief tactical officer of the USS Pride and senior staff, they do not make any motions to stop you. Instead, one of them just nods and says, "Sir."
Gives them quick nods.
Reaches over and taps a button and chirps it for you. A few moments later, you hear a muffled sound inside, but it's somebody speaking, and the security officer nods and says, "You can go in, sir."
Thank you. And I walk in.
As soon as you walk in, the moist air of cooking hits you in the face. You can immediately detect the smell of warm foods that are being cooked. And splayed out across the table, you can see there are half-empty plates. Casey is in here with Jin right now. Jin looks like she's probably responsible for killing half of these plates herself. And Casey smiles at you and goes, and approaches you and without another word puts her arms around you.
There's a moment of hesitation and then a very gentle reciprocation of the hug.
Jen, who's got some noodles in her mouth, she goes, "Casey, that's rude." And she steps back. She goes, "I don't care," and looks you in the eye and just says, "You deserve a hug for saving my sister. I owe you everything." Well, I at least owe you some things. I understand that Peach has saved my ship.
Yes. Honestly, I think Peach saved us. Just flat out. I'm going to be honest.
I don't know how Peach has gained access to my command codes, but I don't care. I'm just glad they were able to. Are you hungry? Do you want to sit down and eat?
I think the moment she mentions food, I realize how hungry I am.
Yeah.
Actually, yes. I am quite hungry. If you're okay with me, I don't want to impose. I know you've been apart for quite a while.
She motions to the seat. Says, please sit down. Take anything you want.
Thank you. And I'll take a seat. How are you two feeling?
Jin nods as you see her just chewing on some of the food. She says, I have no idea how I am, honestly. I'm hungry. I haven't had anything but really bad food packs for months now. So even this spicy shrimp that's been replicated is better than what I've been eating.
I can imagine even replicated shrimp tastes better when it's outside of a cell.
Everything does. And Jen continues to eat. And Casey says, what's next for us? Are you guys taking us back to Rosanna, or are you dropping us off somewhere? I mean, if you want to drop us off at our ship and we can be on our way.
I will look to Jin as
Jin
Casey
looks at you when Casey is saying that, and go ahead and make an insight command check. Difficulty of this is going to be 2 because you're not quite familiar with Jin.
Okay. We do have one momentum in the pile from Close Knit Crew if you would like to grab that.
I'll grab it. I don't think we're going to be, hopefully you're not going to be fighting anyone today. So I'll use it.
Yeah. To be seen.
Who knows? I'll take one for another die.
Okay.
Oh, damn. That's 5 successes.
5
I rolled 2 1s and a 6, which is 1 success. So yeah, 5 successes.
Okay.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Like, Drac, the Jimmadar are dead. Okay, you can calm down.
The adrenaline's still going. I haven't had a chance to go swimming yet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so rushed.
Jin knows she's not going home. When she gives you that look, it's a look. It almost seems to say, "How are you going to break it to my sister?" It's a look that she knows she's not going back home, at least not the home they think she's going to. And of course, you have additional obtain information spins if you would like. Otherwise, you can bank the 3 momentum you just gained.
Oh boy.
Like, what does she want?
Yeah, I think my
Easy to
question would
know,
be.
yeah.
I don't know if I can gauge it from a look, but if I can, I would like to spend one to be like, what would she want me to say? Would you want me to? Would you want me to lie, or would you want me to tell the truth?
It's difficult to tell what she wants you to do, but Jin seems very worried about how you get the impression that Jin seems worried about how Casey is going to react to this. Jin doesn't seem to be struggling with it at all, but she is very worried how Casey is going to react. You can see it in her eyes. She just shoots you a look and you can read it clear as day. You can tell which of the 2 sisters are going to be angry.
I'll give Jin a very clear look, and I don't think I even really hired this expression from Casey either.
Okay. Casey notices the 2 of you are being quiet. You're staring at each other. And Casey, also being quite intelligent, doesn't know the nature of the silence, but does become aware that the 2 of you know something related to the question about when we're going home, and starts doing 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. And a few moments, she glances over at Jin, and you see her face start to change a little bit, like questioning. And Jin finishes chewing and takes a deep breath and exhales, and then just glances over at Casey. And Casey looks at the 2 of you and she goes, wait a minute, what? What? We're going back home. We're going back home.
Would you like
Jin,
me to say it, or? Yeah.
Jin nods to you, to Aeon, and then looks over at Casey and says, what do you know about what I did? What do you mean? What did you do? It can't be anything worse than I did. I'm a thief and a smuggler. I mean, it's mostly food and jewelry, but it can't be as bad as what I did. And there is a long silence. And Jin glances over at you again, to Aeon. And you see that sort of anger in Casey and confusion start to shift to worry. And then after the uncomfortable silence stretches on, Casey finally looks at Jin and says, what did you do? And Jin, I was the head of a division for Section 31. It was my job to develop a biological agent, specifically a mutagenic virus. And she doesn't finish before Casey just starts going, puts her hands to her face, and she says, we were trying to end the war. We were stupid. I was an idealist. Section 31 meant everything to me. They were willing to do what needed to be done. The Federation had the luxury of playing nice. We were fighting somebody who was not playing by the rules of warfare. Something had to be done. Each of us knew that we were going to get burned for it, but we each knew that we were saving the entire Alpha Quadrant. Before you ask, no, I don't have any regrets. But I do think what I did was horrible, and I do think I need to burn for it. That's the price. Casey is without words. She's just staring at her sister like she doesn't know who the hell she is. And then Casey looks over at you, to Aeon, and says, did you know about this? Did all of you know about this?
I was only made aware that your sister be put on trial today, but...
We just rescued her from a jail cell. She stands up and says, calm down. No, I'm not going to calm down. You're supposed to be our rescuers. And she starts shouting. The security, do you see the doors open as the security officer peeks inside?
I'll wave them off.
They nod and the door closes again. Jin stands up and says, I have to do this. And Casey says, I don't understand. You couldn't have done those things. If you did, why would the Jem'Hadar let you live? And that's when Casey says, because they never knew. They didn't know what I did. They didn't know who they had taken. They just knew that I was the top expert for Section 31. If they knew, I would be dead. You made a biological weapon? You were going to commit genocide? How are you any better? She says, sister, and takes her hands, puts them on her shoulders and says, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not. I had to be them to beat them. Do you understand that? And her sister pulls away and says, no, I don't think I do. I need to get some air. I need to get some air. And she beelines, the door opens. Security looks at you questioningly as Casey walks out.
I'll shake my head. I think give her some time.
The door closes again and Jin is left alone with you. And you see her jaw kind of harden. She says, my sister is the good one. She'll never forgive me for this. But it's because she'll never stop loving me either. That's why I never told her any of this. Well, that and because Section 31 would have had her killed. She takes a seat again. You know, when Starfleet Intelligence put in the call for Section 31 operatives to surrender themselves, I thought about doing it, but I realized that if I did, Starfleet would never let me see the outside of a cell. That's what got me captured by the Jem'Hadar. I've been running from this for too long. And it put Casey in danger, and it put all of you in danger. She'll understand.
I know you say that to comfort yourself, but I'm not sure she will.
You see the jaw harden again, and she finally seems to exhibit emotion. She glances out the window to the stars and the just section, one of the winged sections of the Romulan ship that you can see from the window. You know, there might be a way to make this right. I've spent the last few months successfully, synthetically creating a new mixture of Ketracel white.
Give me a moment, and I will stand up, go to the doors, and I'll talk to the security team. You can leave. Be back in 15 minutes.
Are you sure, sir? Captain had us posted here.
Trust me. I have. And I look back at Jen and then back at the security detail.
They nod. Aye, sir. Come on. They leave the door.
The door shut behind me as I turn back to Jen. We've been given strict orders by the Admiral that this cannot leave. How you made this cannot leave this ship.
She nods and says, that's smart. If I were to reveal what I knew about Ketracel White, it would become a threat to the entire the authority of the Dominion government. It would potentially destabilize? Possibly. It's hard to say. My time spent with the Jem'Hadar would suggest that if you strode right up to the Jem'Hadar, looked them in the eyes, and said, "We could free you from the Ketracel White," you know what a Jem'Hadar would say to you? They wouldn't say anything.
Exposure.
They would kill you for suggesting that they would leave the service of the Founders. Their conditioning goes far beyond the chemical dependency of that drug. I bet you anything Starfleet wants to contain that message. Here's something else I know. I happen to know that during the war, the chief medical officer of Deep Space Nine encountered Jem'Hadar who had genetic anomalies that resisted the Ketracel White and that they could exist without it. I also happen to know where copies of that data can be found. All of the medical data he took of those genetic anomalies. It's how I was able to manufacture the Ketracel White that I have. I can make this right because I can make sure the Dominion spends the rest of its existence coming to terms with itself. My second weapon of mass destruction.
Like I said, or rather, I should clarify. Starfleet, members of Starfleet on the ship were told not to let this information leave the ship. But if it happened to happen and it was beyond our control, there's very little I could do about it.
After what I saw you do and what you're doing right now, if this was a different time, I'd invite you into 31. But no, you belong in Starfleet. You're doing this because you think it's right. And you might be right. Who would I need to talk to, out of curiosity, if I wanted to have a conversation about philosophy and destabilizing hostile alien governments?
The person I would not recommend speaking to, if you want to keep such things on the ship, would be the journalist, Bragg. I'd avoid him at all costs if you do not want this news to leave the ship.
She shakes her head and says, "You know you're made, don't you? The moment you dismiss those security officers, this is going to leak back to you eventually. No matter what I do. There is another option. But it will require you to go even further. If you're willing to roll hard 6, I can tell you how we get this done, and it doesn't trace back to anybody on the Pride. Want to hear what I have in mind?
I will sit down and look at the unfinished plates and go, "Are you going to finish that?"
She slides the plate over. And as we go to break to Aeon, your mind is flooded with stories of human mythology and all the tales you read about deals with the devil. We're going to be gone for 10 minutes. We will see you soon. Welcome back, everybody. I didn't catch what was said, but it was enough to send Noir. So, yeah. Welcome back. We're going to jump back into our game here. Real quick before we pick up, did anybody else want to take a scene here, or should we continue where we left off? I'll leave it to the group. I'm guessing you guys want to know what she's about to lay down in front of Taeon.
I think we should make everyone wait a bit longer.
I love you, Drake. It's such
Make
delicious
them suffer.
If this was a TV show, that's exactly what the hell would happen. We cut to
All
another
right.
scene.
All right, do it.
I love it.
All right. So who would like to pick up?
I would like to find the captain, hopefully in his ready room post galley. I think Tavine is much more.
Let me just put this out there too, that in about an hour, the Romulan commander has requested a meeting with the captain because she wants to exchange intelligence and debrief about what the fight was about, because that still hasn't happened yet.
Oh, then I'm absolutely in the ready room.
Okay.
Putting on a new uniform.
You've been brushing up a little bit, probably on the Romulan commander, just to know who the heck she is, so you know what you're getting into. So I'm going to give you a quick brush of information. Her name is Commander Alamis. I'm sorry, Alimnis. So A-L-E, or it's spelled A-L-I-M-N-I-S. Alimnis.
On this. All right.
And the ship that she is in command of, it's a Mogai class ship called the IRW Genorix. You've been given a quick rundown of what happened. Peach has kind of explained to you how the word got out and the Romulans came to help. Peach has informed you that essentially Peaches was able to get a message to the Romulans. It was intercepted by a Romulan warbird, the IRW. Oh God, the IRS, the IRW Imperius, which then contacted the nearest vessel, and that's who intercepted. So,
Hell yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm just going over my documents when I hear somebody at the ready room and enter.
Ready room doors, eyes open. Yep.
Do you have a moment?
Of course, Commander. How can I help you?
She'll step in and will kind of stand basically at attention, like she kind of always is, but a little more like
Formal.
upright, like kind of not put upon. She's earnest about it, but it is more formal than I think you normally see her. She says, "Captain, I believe I owe you an apology."
Oh. And what may I ask, are you apologizing for?
Before we left our meteor shadow, I pushed back against a decision on the bridge. And I owe you an apology for that.
Okay. I don't accept it. Not yet.
Understandable.
Well, why? Why'd you push back?
I am sensitive about my sibling. It's not an excuse, merely an explanation. We were in a hiding pattern, I suppose, and in the moment, the plan until then had been to remain hiding to give them the best opportunity. At the time, I believed we needed to trust them because it would take, as far as we knew at the moment, around an hour and a half to reach them. And if our departure from that hiding place alerted the now we know Jem'Hadar to their presence and got them killed, I would never forgive myself for not saying something beforehand. As I said on that day, that morning, I will follow an order if you give it to me. The way I expressed my concerns were unprofessional and unbecoming of a Starfleet officer, of a Helms officer, and of a Vulcan, sir.
Probably wouldn't forgive me either, thinking about it. If something were to have happened to Commander Cadence, you wouldn't forgive yourself, but I don't think you'd forgive me either.
Correct, sir.
I wouldn't forgive myself either. Every soul on this vessel means the world to me. I don't ask that you be enthused by my orders. I ask that you look at me with a logical lens. Would I ever, from my behavior, and this is good, I really do need to get the perspective of my crew, especially because in an hour I'm going to be talking with another captain, and I would very much like to know my standing. From my actions, do I seem the type of captain that takes the loss of any crew member lightly?
No, sir. I'd say you wouldn't be in the captain's chair if you did. I would hope, at the very least.
I can tell you there are a number of people in that seat that prize victory over returning with just as many souls as they left with. That is not who I am.
I'm glad to hear it, sir.
So how do we fix this? There will be times where your sensitivity will be irritated.
Correct. I have never served with my sibling before. I was unaware that it would be difficult in this way. It was a very unique situation that I don't foresee happening in that exact shape again. At least I hope not. But it was eye-opening for me as a bridge officer to have any inclination to speak back at a captain. First of all,
Do you love your sibling?
more than anything, sir.
Do they know?
I hope so. We were apart for a very long time.
You're willing to face down your captain, but you're uncertain that your sibling knows that you love them. That doesn't seem very logical to me.
Most of our relationship is illogical, sir. Trust me, I see the irony. I was given an ultimatum at one point in my life, and I think I'm still trying to shake it.
Might I ask what it was?
Forgive me, sir, but no.
Very well. I think that when the thought of losing someone conjures a feeling of being unable to forgive yourself, that is because you are aware, maybe even subconsciously, that there are things left unsaid. Maybe the way that we fix our impasse is if you remove those regrets. Not an order, just a friendly suggestion.
To speak freely, Captain, you're not the first person on this ship to say something similar to me. I am hesitant, I will admit. This is the closest we've been in a very long time, and I have, despite myself, been enjoying it. And I know I have things that they probably will not want to hear.
Well, from a strictly selfish perspective, the two of you are quite the force. As you are, I can only imagine what good you would do for the Pride if you both were on the same page.
I would like that, sir. It may be in the cards in the future. I'll have to think on a few things.
Careful,
But I will
Commander.
say,
Careful, Commander. The future is not guaranteed.
I know. I will say part of my apology did come with the assurance that if I have reservations in the future, Captain, I will ask for permission to have the floor first.
Then in that case, apology accepted.
Thank you, sir. I do understand if there are repercussions, and I do accept them.
Oh, there will be. I do think that Cadence will need assistance in the flybys and the training of the baby birds. If I can't get you two to be cordial siblings, at least I can have Commander Cadence get you trained up as a flight instructor.
Oh, Captain, I think you'll find that that may be more of a consequence for them than for me. But I accept it as you order.
One way or another, I'm going to hear you two being passive at each other. I've never known passive aggressiveness to be loud, but here we are.
I'd say we are very clear about the intent of the words. Perhaps maybe not to the outside. But it is very clear to what we speak.
The second part of your reprimand will be sparring.
I can make the time, Captain.
Very good. You have been thoroughly reprimanded. Go forth and cause no more trouble.
I will endeavor, sir. Thank you. And she will stand up and make her way for the door.
Siblings the whole damn time. And it just goes back to reading.
Did I get a quick one before we go in with Taeyeon? Like, just very...
I say make everyone wait as long as possible.
That
There
was
you
the
go.
thought. Just like, it would be a weird denouement after whatever's going on there. And it goes nicely off the back of y'all because I need to talk to Peaches. And I'm in my shuttle bay. By the way, Captain Brock will be reporting on that one soon. Have fun. Got it on record. So where is Peaches?
Peaches is currently in the main shuttle bay, where your Griffin 1 is undergoing maintenance.
Okay. Which I guess is the stealth shit. Like, Griffin 1 is wherever. It's like, you know how Air Force 1 is like whatever shit, like whatever airplane, like
Mhm.
I guess that's Griffin 1, isn't it? That's wild.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess right now it's the stealth ship. But I'll just you know, kind of perch up, I guess, below. I always imagined Peaches being like ventrally hooked up. Is that correct? Belly of the bird?
That's right. Yeah, that's where Peaches is typically attached.
Yeah. So then
Mhm.
I'll just kind of like squat down and say, "Hey, buddy."
You see the display in front of Peaches kind of blink as it goes from technical readouts from doing a scan to basically a sort of like a sound wave line that functions very much as indicating voice is being transmitted. You also see underneath, for accessibility, captions as Peaches speaks and says, "Hello, Commander.
Okay.
I trust you're doing well."
I'm better for seeing you.
That is
I was
very
worried
kind of you to
about
say.
No, we got out of there real quick, and I was worried I wouldn't see you again.
Peaches is quiet, as per usual.
But you got yourself home, huh?
Technically, Commander, I was able to utilize diplomatic negotiation skills to catch a ride home. But I did commandeer a piratical vessel, which I, of course, have already submitted a report and have recommended that it be taken into custody.
I'm so glad everything to do with that family is outside my chain of command. But my understanding is the commandeering of that piratical vessel came with a bit of a name change. Is that right?
There seems to be a moment of thought where the line is just flat for a second before Peaches says, "If you're referring to the rank that I gave myself, Commander, I was technically the captain of the vessel. And it is worth noting, too, that as I was acting in line with enforcement of Starfleet protocol, it could be argued that I was functioning as something of a privateer in the romantic sense."
I thought those came with letters and mark.
True. I suppose I would have to be making the assumption that somehow I took the oaths that a Starfleet officer takes when one puts on the uniform, as they say. I, of course, did not. But I behave in such a way. And perhaps that's what counts.
Hang on a second. They're gonna get up and grab one of the markers from their briefing board. Like, if
Yeah.
you're doing like sometimes you'll see like the pilot equivalent of like
Mhm.
football plays on a board kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always imagined
Yeah, the analog
for Griffin
approach.
Wing as
Mhm.
well. So I grab the marker and I'm gonna shimmy under
Okay.
under Griffin 1 and start doodling. I did a little bit of flight instructing before I got this gig, Peaches.
I do have access to your personnel file, Commander.
Is that a yes?
That is a yes, Commander.
Does it say in there? I think they didn't find me very friendly for some reason as an instructor, which is supposed to be fine. Like when you're working with the pilots who are already pretty good, like our baby birds over here. Just haven't taken on a lot of beginners.
I do know, Commander. I have access to your personnel files.
Okay, that one was rhetorical on my part, Peaches.
Understood.
The point is, I haven't done a lot of teaching someone to fly one of these birds from scratch. So you're gonna be the first in a really long time.
Understood, Commander. Commander, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you defacing Starfleet property right now?
It has exactly as much face as when I started, Peaches.
That is a very clever play on words, Commander.
Thank you. And I will just pat where I've doodled the comm badge onto Peaches.
Okay. Commander, would Starfleet allow you to teach me how to fly a peregrine fighter?
I don't ask Starfleet Command before I use the bathroom. I don't ask Starfleet Command before I get a rocked Geno out of the replicator. And I don't ask Starfleet Command about every little decision I make for training pilots as a CAG. That seems like it is, unlike those sisters, well within my chain of command.
Commander, does this fall under the purview of what they don't know can't hurt them?
With a little bit of, and if they do, they ought to agree with me anyway.
Understood, Commander.
See, first thing about piloting a paragriffin is that you gotta be bold.
Bold.
Make choices, take chances, make mistakes, boldly go.
Understood, Commander.
So why are you over into Griffin 6 and we can start familiarizing you with direct flight controls?
Very good, Commander. Peaches hovers up into like a standing mode.
And I'll just very lightly shoulder check.
Okay. You shoulder check Peaches and turn right into Santos, who's staring daggers at you.
I'm gonna just turn to the left and walk right off screen with Peaches.
He doesn't move to stop you. Every look on his face screams, I heard every fucking word you just said. He just watches you. And as you move past him, Peaches goes, hello, Santos. And the moment Peaches says that, Santos's eyes go up and goes, that's Deck Chief. Peaches, all right? Yes, of course, Deck Chief. We're going to miss your flight lesson. And steps past Peaches. And Peaches just hovers after you. As that is happening, back in the quarters, leaning across the table and looking you in the eye, to Aeon, she says, the best way to get away with doing this is by putting it all on me. I'm already a criminal and I'm already wanted.
Okay.
And the only way you're going to get away with doing that, without there being any more questions, and without it being traced back to you, is if I were to stage an escape.
Joan leans back. They had leaned forwards, interested in what this person was to say, but a moment they suggest as they lean back. Stage an escape. So you're suggesting I let you go?
No, but maybe don't do your best to catch me. It needs to be believable, and you're quite competent. So,
I'm sorry, but I can't do that.
she leans back. She says, I understand. I don't blame you. One is high risk, high reward, and the other is just high risk. Your problem is you think one is the other, and not the other way around. But I won't fight you on this. If this gets out, it will trace back to this ship. Starfleet intelligence are not fools, and your captain knows that, I'm sure. So, if you're all right with that.
If this were to happen, when would you need to agree on it?
I don't know exactly. I still have a few friends that could help me with this. And if this were to happen, I might go a step further and say, what if I agree to turn myself in at a agreed upon time?
I can't make this a decision on my own. As much as you think I should, and as much as I would like to, this affects more than just me.
Definitely think you should, because you'll implicate anybody you tell. And it's also worth noting that the more cooks you put in this kitchen, the worse it's going to get for everyone.
Sorry. But no.
Why don't you think about it? At the very least, you can tell someone you trust, and you guys can come up with a plan to double-cross me.
I'll tap my comm badge to call the security team, the security detail back.
Okay. They return.
It's a pleasure having dinner with you, Jen.
You as well. And for what it's worth, turning me down isn't exactly the wrong choice. It's just another choice. One way or the other, what you're trying to do is commendable. But I'm ready to burn for what I did. Just be ready to burn for what you're about to do. Sometimes it's worth it.
I stand up and I leave.
You really would be good at 31, you know.
I savor the boring a bit too much for that.
All right. Door closes behind you. Where are you headed now?
With this?
Yeah.
Being told this? I think every bone in my body is telling me not to. But I don't think I know anyone else to go to for this. I think I'm looking for Cadence.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
what's up. Oh. We
All right.
hey, everyone has specializations on the ship. You know, there's the person you call when your tummy aches. There's the person you call when you want to eat a hot meal. And there's a person you call when you ghost bust. Come on. I'm down my shoulder. You'll just pass the really sulky Santos. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I kind of like rap on the wall nearby.
Okay.
And then you should know the thruster percentage is a magnitude, and then separately there's going to be the vector. And then pop back up from under Griffin 6.
And with you is Peaches, just like almost comically, the two of them like pop their heads out, as it were, as you see both Peaches and the commander just look up at you. Hello.
Oh,
it is good to see you, and good to see that you are in one piece, as they say.
Good to be in one piece. Good to see you, Peaches. Actually, I was here for Cadence, but since you're here, thank you for saving behinds back there. I don't think we would have made it without you calling for aid.
It's highly unlikely that you would have, Commander. You're most welcome.
I looked at Cadence. Are you teaching someone else in there you're running through the training with? Are you teaching Peaches?
Look, I need every good pilot I can get, and it's not my fault if the humanoids just aren't up to snuff.
I also technically qualify as a potential candidate to fly since I now meet the requirements of sentient AI.
And you've been flying for a while. You
There
know,
is that
mostly
as
as
well.
you.
Although it is worth noting that I am not necessarily a fully recognized sentient AI, but that is simply a matter of time. And it's also because Starfleet is completely unaware of the number of upgrades I've received in the past 2 months.
Hey, I'm not fully recognized as the greatest pilot in Starfleet. We're all
It's true,
waiting for
Commander.
them to understand what's true.
Agreed.
But if you'll pardon me, I think we'll finish up our lesson for now. I'm going to find out what bridge crew over here wants. Good work, and please download all of the manual, and we'll talk about it in future.
Understood, Commander. Manual downloaded.
All right.
Manual read.
I wish all my baby birds were like that. Step into my office, and I will not lead Dayon to my little cubicle of a ready room, and not where I went with Brog.
Okay.
because
That starts
because
to
I
look-
know Brog would have made a thing about the baby bird's little still they think I don't know about. And I don't want that to be a thing. But
Okay.
this is obviously the more private
It is.
spot
Mhm.
because this is the spot where the baby birds thought they could hide a still.
Okay.
Why? I don't understand. Like, since the hall's fine. Anyway, what's up?
I spoke with Jen and Casey, checked in on how they were doing. I'm not entirely sure why I assumed otherwise, but it seems like Casey was not aware of Jen's part in the war and very quickly learned and did not take it well.
That
But
seems
that-
like a good and healthy response.
Yes. No, I definitely agree. I don't think they will be getting over that ever. Jen made an offer, rather a suggestion,
Mhm.
more than anything, of how she could make this right. As right as she can make it, anyway.
Yeah, is she a temporal agent too?
As far as I'm aware, no. And if she is, clearly a very bad one if she got stuck in the same time, in the same space for so long. They offered releasing the recipe, for lack of a better term, for White. And from what we heard with the captain, it seems he's very much in agreement that it should be made public. But if it were to just so happen to get on news feeds, it would implicate everyone on the ship rather quickly.
Reasonable people could disagree on that, but
Yes, but not everyone we deal with is reasonable, even in Starfleet.
so
Their suggestion is they stage an escape. Stage is quite honestly a very generous term for it. They plan on escaping, having us let them escape, release the word, and she promised, which I'll be honest, I don't entirely believe. Rather, I don't believe at all, but she promised that she would turn herself in afterwards. This is a way to get the word out without it implicating us specifically, and she still serves her time. I said no. But I thought I'd want to bring up to you. Because in all honesty, when it comes to this sort of thing, and by this sort of thing, I mean going against direct orders, it seems like you're the person to turn to.
I have no idea why you'd say such a thing. I'm just gonna drink from my glass. that the baby birds don't think I don't know about.
More than anything, I'm just bringing this up to you to know if I made the right choice. I made a decision that could help or hinder many people. And while I stand by it, I am also aware that I am not all-knowing. I may have made a mistake. At the very least I can do is get a second opinion.
That was too harsh on you. You're all right. So let me understand if I've got all of this straight. The former Section 31 operative who committed the war crimes with the invention of a bioweapon thinks that rather than potentially be held responsible for the release of information that could be acquired by inference from the situation we found ourselves in, we should instead release the war crimes lady because we will get in less trouble. And she will definitely hold herself accountable despite having fled being on trial for war crimes. That's her
Having someone
assessment
else
of
say
the
it,
relative risk.
having someone else say it feels good because hearing you say it makes it obvious that yes, I was correct in thinking this is a terrible idea.
Yeah, Section 31 lady's trying to work us. Do we need to
Yes.
lock down the ship?
Maybe. I can definitely get more security detail on her just in case.
That's... yeah.
Other reason why I bring this up to you specifically is because I'll be quite frank with you. Tavina told me a lot about you. And judging from your rather good lack of response when the captain was asking about releasing the recipe of white, I figured you'd already be working on how to get it out there. But at the very least, thinking about it.
I don't understand what everybody... I keep saying... hang on. I'm a Starfleet officer in good standing.
One of the best. Yes, please. Because I kind of very awkwardly sip from it.
Awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no methanol content. I took a tricorder too. I don't want to make you go blind. They're mediocre pilots, but they're decent chemists.
That's a relief. Well,
it shouldn't be. They can barely do a barrel roll.
I think you're a bit hard on your pilots, from what I've seen.
Yeah, maybe. But I was hard on you. And look how you turned out.
I think I've been... I'm assuming that's a joke.
Yeah, see? Tavina's taught you about our sense of humor.
Yes. Yes.
What'd she say about me anyway?
I think, again, I think we've done this before, but I think you might need to roll to catch a glimpse of a thing that flashes across Taylor's face.
So now we know we're doing these on opposed check.
Yep. If you want to do this in a opposed check, so then it is going to be the defender is going to make the roll first to establish the difficulty.
Yep.
So that's going to be you to Veen and to Aeon, and I need you to get to pick which attribute and department you would use. It just has to make sense as to how it is.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's either going to be command or security. But it's most likely command, since that's really your poker face. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
and
presence command.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Presence command.
This is versus my insight command, so don't worry about it too much.
So yeah, go ahead and set the difficulty of that. You're just rolling against your standard target number. How many successes did you get?
1 success.
Okay, the difficulty is 1.
All right. Well, let's see how we do. Okay, that all right. Yeah, actually 2 is an 8 and a 3. I just kind of expected it not to do that. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
All right. So then, yes, you can read.
Yeah, what do you want me to know?
I think again you see the look of I said too much, first of all, and a look of and I think it's because he's still very much running on this like high after a very dangerous mission that there's just too many emotions to really keep track of. But frustration again, I think, just real frustration, and because I think you succeeded. You can tell it's not pointed at you, it's pointed at Tavine. Have they not spoken to you about your time apart?
I think you have seen most of our interactions in the last decade and a half.
Much of what she said about you is not for me to say. And I understand how frustrating that can be. What I can say for sure is that she thinks that is there anywhere to sit in this space as I look around?
I mean, they're squatting down. They're like crates. If you want to perch up, you can squat by them. I imagine this as like some lines of crates, and like there was a panel, and that's where they're trying to hide their crimes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I think I won't even squat then. I think I just fully sit on the floor.
Yeah.
Kind of one knee brought up to my chest. I think the years apart emotionally, as much as a Vulcan can say, pale in comparison to the time they spent with you now.
And that pisses you off?
It pisses me off that I'm the one to say it.
I'm gonna hand you the cup again.
I'll take a much longer drink from it and then pass it over again.
What was she like?
I think at first she was very closed off. But even for Vulcan, if that helps. I saw it as a perfect opportunity to see. In all honesty, we were one of the few Vulcans on our ship. So we spoke, spent time together, and it became more than just simply bonding over the fact that we're both Vulcan. We enjoyed spending time with each other. We became friends. But even then, I could tell there was something more. Again, the nature of it, not for me to say. But like I said before, I think the time apart pales in comparison to comparatively very small amount of time we spent together on Excelsior, on Pride. And it pisses me off that I have to be the one to tell you this, because I have definitely spoken to Tavine about this several times, not just on Pride, but on Costa Vega as well. But That's fine. People move at their own pace. It's not my place to be annoyed with how people navigate their relationships.
You know, I get how it works. And Cadence will say it in Vulcan. You know, I get how all that works, right?
Didn't really. Well, I should have assumed you spoke Vulcan. Yes.
You're really trying to push the whole, oh, y'all are less emotional, honestly. I don't know how they learned Vulcan y'all, but they use Vulcan y'all.
Vulcan y'all. Okay. As a Texan, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so funny. She was lonely. And I think though we became friends, when you had said that I was somehow a replacement for you, that pissed me off as well. I think if I'm just going to be saying what is on my mind right now, that annoyed me. Because very clearly I was nowhere near a replacement for you, because even as we became friends, she was still lonely. And I can only imagine how it feels to be surrounded but lonely. Not that she did anything to fix that. Again, I've spoken to her several times. Can I have that? And I'll point at the bottle you have in your hand.
Oh yeah, just you hear have that. Yep.
I down it, set it down. I just think that all of this I'm saying would be better for her and for you if it came from one, her mouth, and two, hope you don't mind me assuming, but assume yours.
She left. I didn't want to bother her if she didn't want to be there.
Sorry, Sam, I couldn't hear you. What did they say?
She left. I didn't want to bother her if she didn't want to be there.
The kind of very clearly riled up energy of Taeon very quickly dissipates there. I think you should talk to her. Tell her how you felt when that happened, when she did that. See how she responds. All I've seen between the two of you, as I suppose the term would be adorable as it is this sibling passive aggressiveness.
Easy. We're not there yet.
I understand.
And then I'll hold the cup for you to pour the bottle.
And I'll pour it in.
Yeah.
I just think you two should talk. I will be honest, on that ship, I was certain I was going to die. And well, I had been in that situation before. This was the only time where I felt that I would be going without regrets. I was in, while more directly in danger, all of you were in just as much danger. And I can only imagine the regrets that would be left behind if one of you perished.
You know, when you put it that way, it sounds really messed up. See, we're both just echoing things back at each other, and when we hear it from someone else. I think your siblings are Like
I don't have
we look
siblings.
normal by. No, I meant the sisters because you came with the
Oh,
sisters, and then we
them.
talked about siblings.
Yes,
Yeah, those ones.
Ooh.
See, not the most dysfunctional siblings on this ship. Just I want it on the
No,
record.
I think more of a normal dysfunction, which is why it's quite frustrating that you haven't, we've dealt with the abnormal. Surely the normal should be possible.
You know either of us. You know that one's way harder. I don't know about you. I'm gonna feel better when I get eyes on where exactly that problematic sibling is, and they'll get on up and
All right.
reach out a hand.
I'll take their hand. I think not putting any weight on you, but we'll still take your hand for the gesture. We'll stand up.
Vulcans.
Cut to transporter room 1 with our captain and our first officer. As the transporter pad, you see as this energy beam begins to finish the transporting process, beaming on board is a middle-aged Romulan commander in her trimmed down, modernized Romulan naval uniform. She has the stereotypical Romulan bowl cut and has that sort of hyper intelligent glint in her eyes as she steps off the transporter pad. And with her very sharp angular features and dark brown hair and this deep like pools of black eyes, she just strides up to you, Captain, and says, Captain
Alanis, welcome to the USS Pride.
Thank you. And your first officer? I am Commander Hata. Welcome aboard. Well, shall we?
Let's right this way to the conference room. We've got quite a bit to discuss.
As you're walking down the corridors, getting closer to the turbolift, the Romulan commander is just looking around and says, Excelsior class. I did not know that Starfleet still had Excelsior class starships in their navy.
We're the last.
Truly.
Yep, she takes a beating, but she keeps standing up.
How old is this vessel?
Oh, we're a century plus. Is that about right, Hata?
Hata says roughly 88 years, Captain.
88 years.
This rather judgmental look passes over the commander's face and says, I see.
Flies like he's still 40. just past the wall.
As y'all are headed up to the bridge, she just nods and says, war and emergencies have put a strain on everyone's navy.
Yeah, we're shaking the cobwebs off of all manner of resources.
We too are in a similar position. We have Tillis-class warbirds that are currently in operation to help deliver refugees to new worlds in order to clear the perceived explosion range of the Hobus star.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's half of the reason we're out of mothball.
Mothball.
It's
Is this a
something
sport?
you would think with the amount that I've heard it. No, it's a colloquial term. Yeah, we were gonna the Pride was gonna be a museum piece, but she's got a couple more missions left in her, so
You step onto the bridge. A couple of officers just glance off in the direction. It's not lost on anybody how unusual and rather kind of momentous to have a Romulan commander visiting a Federation starship in this time of cooperation in the post-war environment. It's something that's kind of uplifting for some of the officers to see. She strides following you into your ready room. As she steps inside and glances around, she says, I do have to admit, the ship does have a certain charm to it. There's a certain amount of romance that gets lost in the more modern starships, I think.
Yeah.
Having a ship that can do everything for you and can do it so well is sometimes not as stimulating.
I only wish that we were further along with our galley so I could show you the real heart of the ship.
Matter. We are here to discuss the issue with the Dominion.
Yes.
My government has requested any and all information available, though I have a feeling that our governments are speaking to one another right now. So, to save ourselves time, and so that I do not type up a report that is just dismissed because everything you have told me is already known, I thought it might be best for us to speak Starship Captain to Starship Commander.
Let's. I'd imagine you have some questions.
You see Hata just dismiss herself as she leaves you both the ready room.
I just give her the nod. The nod's a little bit like, well, here we fucking go.
Hata exits the ready room. The door closes.
So I'd imagine you have questions. I have answers, and I'd imagine that you have questions that I may be unable to answer. So let's do the dance, shall we?
I find your directness somewhat refreshing.
Well, I tend not to bullshit people who save my life.
Bullshit is a term I'm familiar with.
A bit crass, I'll give you that, but it gets to the point. What would you like to know that I can't tell you? Because I know those are the best questions.
What I don't understand is the why. How was it that you came across or encountered this Dominion ship? When we rescued your rather unusual synthetic life, we were able to ascertain that activity had been taking place upon a remote asteroid that had not been used for some time. There are a lot of questions as to what you were doing out here. You are close enough to the border that it's become something of a question for the Romulan government. Though I should go ahead and tell you, Captain, that this does not come with the same measure of suspicion as we might have had in the past. It's especially not from me. You'll find there are some Romulan commanders in the Navy now that appreciate the Federation for what they are trying to do for us.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
It's the wise thing to do.
You're not wrong. And how rare a thing when the right thing is the wise thing. You got to embrace it when it comes, you know?
She smiles at that and says, I agree with that.
The why is a complicated question, but you are a capable commander, so let's get to it. This is an enticing story of roaming black holes, anti-chronotons, and all manner of mysteries. I hope that you are intrigued.
And she sits down now, crosses her legs, and says, I am now.
Good. What were we doing out here?
Yeah.
And he's just gonna tell her everything that's not classified.
I mean, so much of it is classified. You are running, you can see her almost a Vulcan-like expression on her face. It were not for the extended ridging on her forehead, you would have mistaken her for one for sure. By the way, she raises her eyebrows. You continue your story. You can see she has questions and can pick up where you're not telling her things. Not surprising, considering she's a Romulan commander. You have plenty of experience both interacting with and coordinating with Romulan High Command. You know they are incredibly perceptive and really good at seeing moves and moves ahead. It's not a coincidence that the tide of the Dominion War changed dramatically when they joined. She listens intently. When you reach the end of your story, she takes it all in for a moment and says, It's a lot of deduction I'm going to have to do in order to fill in the gaps to what you've told me. But I've been out at sea, as you might say, long enough to know that sometimes these fantastical tales I hear are more often true than they are not. This ship that you were very vague to tell me about, do you truly know nothing about it?
I'm assuming we're talking about the
elusive out there Romulan ship. And she seems to have hooked onto that because she's very curious about it.
I have been positively frustrated at how little I know about what I know about it.
She relaxes a little. You see her shoulders slump as she sits back in her chair for a moment as she considers what you've just said. And she says, things are changing in the Romulan government. But as someone who has had to work with a secret police over their shoulder, believe me when I say I sympathize.
As a Bajoran, I understand the necessity for the shadows. In times of strife, the shadows is what gave my people the means to come out into the light. And now that I am in the light, I would very much like to stay in it.
Shall I help you find the light then, Captain? She leans forward and says, what can you tell me?
I can tell you that due to very strange circumstances, things that would be considered worthless might have a value to them that we are only just now beginning to understand. I am going to allude about old power sources.
Okay. She listens to you give that detail. Make me an insight command check.
Let's go. Insight command. Oh, okay. Got to roll under 16, and we are rolling a 14 and a 3.
Oh, okay. The difficulty for this was 3. So how many successes does that make?
Well, let's see. It depends on
it depends on whether your focuses kick in. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that it does. Multitasking, no. Martial arts, no. Team dynamics, no. Starfleet protocol, no. Inspiration, no. Composure, no. Tactical mind or tactics?
No, unfortunately,
yeah,
not with negotiation. Yeah. Okay, she's quiet for a moment. She leans forward.
Wait, you know what? I'm gonna pop that last determination. I'm gonna turn.
Okay, so you've already rolled, so that determination. No, you can still do it, but it just manifests in a different way. Yeah. So you don't gain the auto. I don't believe you gain the auto crit. I think now you get to reroll dice.
Yep.
So you can reroll that 116 if you want to try to go for, or you could try to give yourself isn't there something where you could give yourself a specialization by burning a determination?
Yeah, but then you couldn't.
That is.
Reroll.
What's that? Then you couldn't roll. You'd have to then. Yeah.
Well, okay. Because you rolled a 3, right? That's pretty low. Could you crit on that if you had a specialization?
If
there's no talent I could give myself to give that, but I could. No. There's no way out of it. Okay, I'm gonna save the determination.
If you reroll, does it can you reroll the entire pool basically as though it's a fresh roll?
You could reroll the entire pool if you wanted to, but you.
So we have. I was gonna say because they didn't spend momentum earlier, we have one in the pot always because of Cadence, the new scene. Could they roll 3 dice if they chose to reroll?
On a determination reroll, that is a great question. I don't know that you can burn dice to add to a reroll. I am going to look that up. This might be one of those
Burn a
things.
determination and our last momentum.
Yeah,
That's a good question.
My guess is if any of our friends of Modifius were here right now and I asked them directly, Jim would probably be like, I don't know, does it make a good story if you say yes? But let me just make sure that there's no rule specifically saying no, because that
slide one more rules fight with the GM in at the last minute of the stream.
Okay, spending determination. When you attempt a task, you can spin for determination, choose one of the benefited details, which you've done. So then perfected opportunity, moment of inspiration is after the dice have been rolled, you can re-roll any number of d20s in your pool. So then I would probably say my interpretation of that would be, okay, Sam, what do you got?
Oh, no, sorry, I don't have one yet. I thought I did.
I was going to say, that means you can re-roll any of the... The way I'm reading this is all that determination spin lets you do is re-roll the dice that you rolled on that task roll. So the question is, do I let you burn determination to gain extra dice to add to that pool?
We're also spending a resource, an extra resource. So it's not just the determination.
I tell you what, go ahead and re-roll those dice, and I will let you spend I'll meet you halfway. I'll let you burn one momentum to gain a third die for the roll.
That was the point. That was what we were saying, was because we have one momentum, could we burn the determination and spend the momentum to get the bonus?
I'll allow it this time because there's still a risk of failure. So I think that's fair. Go ahead.
Hell yeah. Let's get it. Let me roll back up there. Insight command with one additional die has to roll under 16, and we get ourselves a 16, 14, and 11.
That's 3 successes. So you'll hit the difficulty on the die. Okay. She knows what you're talking about. You see the recognition in her face, and it manifests as excitement. You see her eyebrows lift slightly.
So you have been at sea for some time, huh?
She leans forward and she says, "No one will believe me. Have you been tracking an unmarked Romulan vessel?"
Well, how could I if nobody would believe you?
Captain, no more games. Tell me if you've seen it. Tal Shiar have been repressing any information about this. But I think there is a rogue Romulan vessel out there, and if I didn't know any better, I would say it's using some kind of weapon, and it's not working in favor of the Romulans or the Federation. I don't know who they are. Let's compare notes. Have you seen it? No bullshit.
Yeah, no bullshit. Just give me one moment, Captain. I am enjoying being a good soldier for just a minute longer.
There's a chirp suddenly coming from your desk.
I'm gonna answer it. Captain Jiren.
You hear Hata say, "Captain, I'm so sorry for interrupting you, but we've just been contacted by the USS Prometheus. She is en route to our location and is only about an hour away. I have an incoming subspace message from them."
Send it on over.
A few moments pass. You see coming up on the view screen the symbol of the USS Prometheus, and then after a few moments, you see the face of a human captain appear on screen. Captain looks bearded, balding, probably in his early 50s. Warm smile on his face. He says, "Captain, my name is Captain Corey Locke. I am the acting captain of the USS Prometheus. I'm sorry for this surprise, Captain, but Starfleet intelligence had us divert, and we have been traveling at maximum warp. We should be reaching you in about 2 hours."
Ah, good to hear. What do I owe the visit?
I have not been made privy to all of the information, Captain. All I know is that I'm carrying somebody from Starfleet Intelligence who plans on conducting some kind of personnel transfer. If you wish to speak to them, I can arrange that on a secure channel, but I am not authorized to know.
Absolutely. Yes. One moment, please.
The Romulan commander, she stands up and she says, I will be aboard my ship. If you wish to speak more, I would be eager to compare notes.
I'll have Hata escort you to the transporter bay. Expect notes. Expect notes shortly.
She nods. Good luck with your Starfleet Intelligence personnel transfer.
I feel that I might need it. Captain Alanis, I'm going with my gut, trusting you. No bullshit.
Captain, there are many people in the Romulan government that still thinks the Federation is our enemy. But I fought alongside the Federation during the Dominion War, and I have seen how hard the Federation is working to preserve the Romulan culture and save our people. And that includes, it seems like she hesitates for a moment. Like she's not sure if she can trust you this much to be so vulnerable to say, but she squares her shoulders and commits and says, I've been especially appreciative to how the Federation has treated the Riemann people. I think you and I could be allies in whatever is happening. Something to consider.
Yes, I've seen them. Yes, I know them. And I'll give you what I'll give you what we know.
I will give you what I know.
Remans are too different from the Bajorans. Thank you.
Captain. Steps through the door.
I go back to my call with with Captain Locke.
Okay.
Patch him into a secure line. I'd very much like to talk to our new personnel.
A moment passes before the channel closes up again, and then a moment later, on a secured channel, popping up on the screen, you see a middle-aged woman, striking features, angular features. She has a Starfleet Intelligence uniform on, and judging from the coloration around her shoulders, she looks like she might be engineering or possibly operations or security. She has the pips of a lieutenant commander, but you recognize Starfleet Intelligence uniforms. You've never seen her before, but she looks like somebody who's probably been experienced in the field. She says, Captain, my name is Lieutenant Commander Lassie Leclerc. I am a operative for Starfleet Intelligence, specializing in bringing in Section 31 agents that are looking for refuge. I understand you have someone on board.
That I do. A pretty notable individual as well. I hope you don't mind me asking for you to confirm your orders. With Section 31, you can never be too safe.
She smiles and says, don't I know it? And that is a good button to stop on for the night. We will pause there as Caitlin is losing her mind.
I got excited. I was a fan first. I got to fangirl a little bit. It's exciting.
We will pause there. Next week, for Aux Crew, just so everybody knows, next week we are doing Noirville. So if you want to play, if you want to see a good Marvel superhero game, do tune in. Last Excelsior will be back not after this coming Monday, but the Monday after. We will see you then. Thank you so much for joining us for this next chapter of the Last Excelsior. Until then, friends, hailing frequencies are closed.